Newz daughter Bishop Grady Leon, what the fuck going on for this BFN Report? Now, y'all remember back in 2017 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Justine Damon, pretty white Australian chick or whatever, actually was shot dead by Officer Muhammad Noor. Seemed black dude, looked like a black dude or whatever. It looked like one of them other motherfuckers, but you could pass for black, you could pass for Arab, could pass for Hispanic even possibly or whatever. But nevertheless, this dude had recently got convicted for killing her or whatever. He was sentenced to, he was charged essentially with, he's found guilty of third-degree murder and manslaughter because he had killed her in this situation that escalated in 2017 unlawfully, essentially. But even after that, they hit Justine's family with a $20 million settlement. The family pledged to donate a portion of the money to like some gun combatant charities, but they ain't giving all that shit away, you dig? Greenwald Graduation though. Newz daughter Bishop Grady Leon, what the fuck going on for this BFN Report? Check this out though. Over in Palestine and Israel, they got it jumping this past weekend. Starting on Friday, mind you, for the past 13 months, every Friday the Palestinians have been protesting at the Gaza Strip, basically at these lands that they feel like the Israelis are unlawfully occupying. This is known as the Great March of Return protest, and it's led to a lot of violence against Palestinians since they be going there a lot of times unarmed. And even this past weekend or whatever, on Friday, 2 Palestinians were killed up front. Now in response though, Palestinians had ended up killing 2 Israelis. But then in response to that, Israelis started committing airstrikes against the Palestinians or whatever. It ended up being a total of 350 targets for airstrikes by these Israelis against Palestinians. The Palestinians in return launched 700 rockets towards the Israelis. So there's a ceasefire going on currently. I mean, we'll see when the dust settles really what the numbers are and all of that, but that's what just finished happening, man. Greenwald Graduation, man. Newz daughter Bishop Grady Leon, what the fuck going on for this BFN Report? Now check this out though. The United Nations Intergovernmental Science Policy on Biodiversity and Science Policy Platform, on biodiversity and ecosystem services, right? Just a group of motherfuckers from all across the globe that really be researching into science and biodiversity. Biodiversity being a variety of life in a particular habitat or environment or whatever. They've actually said that we're at risk in the foreseeable future of losing anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million species. Now, I know a lot of you motherfuckers probably can't even name 20 species, you know what I'm saying? So that's already alive. We're talking about 500,000 to 1 million, you know what I'm saying? Now, check this out though. This is all coming from, while we have to think about like pollution and all of that, whatever, a lot of this has to do with like the actual habitats that we're creating when we're getting rid of these rainforests and these wetlands and all that, trying to make way for industrialization, commercialization, residential areas and whatnot. So, it's just something to think about. They're going to release the full report at the end of this year though, so we'll see more details. Greenwald Graduation. Go to Bishop Grady Leon, what the fuck going on for this BFN Report? So I'm just keeping y'all updated with the little shit. We know that the White House is going to be flooded with racists and bigots and wealthy oligarchs and all of them type of motherfuckers, all them evil motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying, that Trump want to put in position, probably doing favors for and shit like that. But I'm still going to report on it just to let y'all know tit for tat, like what's happening and who to really point fingers at. So Donald Trump has recently tapped Mark Morgan to be the head of ICE being Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. Mark Morgan actually was the head of Border Patrol under the Obama administration. He's also a former FBI agent. Now, the thing about this, though, is, he still has to be confirmed by Senate. But I just want to make note that everybody wants to put, children detainees and the whole immigration thing on Trump. But let's keep it real, though. Under Obama, at one point, there were 57,000 kids detained at the border. Look it up. And also, Obama is known to have actually deported the most immigrants. So, you know what I'm saying? Just keep that in mind. Greenwald Graduation. Bishop Grady laying up what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. Check this out though. John Kelly, former chief of staff, he's actually who actually led the Department of Homeland Security or whatever. This is all under Donald Trump or whatever. You could say he's actually responsible for ushering in the whole family separation policy at the border, where they've been separating kids from their parents as they're trying to cross into the country without the proper paperwork, and because they're not keeping track of these kids, who knows what the fuck they doing with these kids? Like, it's a serious issue. Let's keep it a stat. But check this out though, John Kelly, he actually, now he's not the chief of staff, he's not in the White House or whatever, but he ends up on the board of Caliburn International. Now, Caliburn International actually is the parent company of Comprehensive Health Services. Now, this company in particular, CHS, they actually own the largest jail for kids who've been separated at the border. How about that? The conflict of interest is crazy, but it's kind of like, well, what kind? Can you even trust that company who would hire such a person like that, whose job was essentially known for terrorizing kids? Like, that's crazy, man. The new world order, Bishop Grady laying on what the fuck going on for this BFN report. John Bolton, the national security advisor, actually said publicly that the U.S. is sending a carrier strike group and a bomber task force out to the region of Iran. Now, the carriers, these are the ships where you could actually deploy other smaller boats or ships or submarines or even jets or whatnot. It actually has huge landing strips and parking spaces on it and all of that shit, whatever. You've seen this in public, in the news, or possibly even in fiction or war novels, war movies or whatnot. Nevertheless, this is all in keep in mind that, last year we pulled out of the Iran nuclear arms treaty, which was designed to basically quell any sort of inclination towards a nuclear war with Iran. This is also amidst sanctions against Iran or companies that are buying oil from Iran, and this is also amidst actually putting Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard or whatever, they little military or whatever, on a terror watch list. So what is this going to do other than provoke them to do something? Greenwald Graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady laying on what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now, North Korea, Trump and the administration, whatever, they've actually been in talks with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, denuclearization talks that have actually turned into nothing. As I've been telling my people through my rap broadcast or whatever, and even through here, because at the end of the day, they're not going to give up their arms if the U.S. doesn't greatly decrease their nuclear arms, which the U.S. is not going to do. Because if you go back to the 1950s, the United States actually bombed the fuck out of Korea, period, or whatever, during the Korean War. You're talking about over 2 million people being killed or whatever, around 2 million people being killed. It's not a fucking game. So they not playing either. But nevertheless, though, the North Korea is still running nuclear tests all out in the open, or whatever. People are seeing that as them provoking the U.S., but the White House is still downplaying and saying that they still think a deal is gonna happen. But I don't really see it. Oh, and this is all amidst the UN actually warning that 40% of North Koreans are actually in urgent need of food due to them having the worst harvest that they had in decades. And the international sanctions greatly against North Korea greatly contributed to that. Greenwald Graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady laying on what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now, in the southern Colombian town of Santander de Quilichao, Francia Marquez, a known activist, she's even known in the U.S. or whatever. This is somebody, Afro-Colombian chick, Francia Marquez, who actually has received awards for activism and protesting and trying to stop armed militia from doing illegal gold mining down there, which is a combined environmental and humanitarian hazard. Let's keep it real, because a lot of times we have mines or whatever, you got motherfuckers that's getting paid little to nothing, and then somebody at the top getting paid a fortune. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, Francia, she actually escaped death recently when they were in Santander de Quilichao, they actually armed militia actually went and threw a grenade and opened fire on a group of activists. So that lets you know how live it is for these activists out here, especially across the world. And we gotta salute them when they stand, because it's a dangerous occupation. Greenwald Graduation now. We'll do the Bishop Grady laying on what the fuck going on for this BFN report. I hope y'all follow me with this one, because these stories that I'm telling y'all, whatever, they actually connect one to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. You know what I'm saying? This is modern day. History is being made on a regular basis. But check this out, though. I'm telling y'all about how in Afghanistan, whatever, how the U.S. has been in these so-called peace talks with the Taliban. And I told y'all that never really made sense anyway. We kind of always on the edge, on the verge of stopping terrorism or some huge terror plot or whatever, but then all of a sudden the shit still persists. And the Taliban is really no different. So the Taliban actually claimed responsibility for on Sunday there was a raid on a police headquarters in Baglan, to Afghanistan, where there were 13 people killed and dozens injured, including at least like 20 civilians. Now this is all amidst a Ramadan ceasefire that was instituted by the Afghanistan president Ashraf Ghani, but the Taliban rejected it. But they're supposed to be in peace talks with the U.S. and the U.S. is supposedly trying to get them the Taliban to cooperate with the government. Get the fuck out of here. Greenwald Graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady, let y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. I've been reported on this or whatever, but I only reported on this once. So you follow me, you might not have recorded. But over in Brunei, that's over in Asia, and I could point it out to a map on you, but it's, out there near the Pacific Ocean or in Pacific and Indian Ocean, all of that, whatever. Brunei, the Sultan of Brunei had recently said that he was going to, months ago, had said they were going to reinstate rules that were, end this moratorium that basically banned, that basically had the death penalty for morality-based laws, including adultery and homosexuality, basically saying that you could be killed for that. They were going to bring that back, essentially, but there was global backlash against this. Even celebrities over here in the U.S. were going to actively protest against it because the Sultan of Brunei actually owned these luxury hotels or whatever. Well, it turns out that the Sultan of Brunei, a leader or whatever, basically said he's not going to do that. And he's even going to, ratify the United Nations treaty on torture. So, we'll see how this pans out. Greenwald Graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady, let you know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Botched leadership. That's all we're seeing right now coming from this White House. But Donald Trump is actually, this is before he's supposedly supposed to meet with Chinese officials or whatever to talk about this trade war. You know what I'm saying? Talk about to come to some new agreements or whatever. But he actually upped the ante on the trade war still before the talks, and he it was already like 10% tariffs on like $200 billion worth of goods or whatever, but he's actually upping it to 25%, and he's going to impose these new tariffs on another $325 billion worth of Chinese goods. So China's actually considering stepping out of the talks at this point. It's like, fuck you. That's basically what they're saying with that, and it's like, you know what I mean? And we can't really go around bullying like that, especially with powers like China, because economically they got it and militarily, shit, people out, their shit is bigger than ours. Greenwald and Graduation, you know the shit. We'll go to Bishop Grady, let you know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now the plot thickens, man. Boeing, now y'all know about these recent crashes of Boeing 737 MAX 8 and 9 airplanes or whatever. There was one that crashed past October, the Lion Air Indonesian aircraft, and then there was one recently crashed Malaysian in a Malaysian airplane or whatever. Now it's people have been protesting heavily against Boeing because they felt like they knew what was wrong with it. The Boeing official, the CEO or whatever, actually even issued a public apology or whatever, which is guilty by itself. But it turns out that they knew about a sensory problem with the MAX 7s or whatever since 2017, and didn't notify anyone about it, didn't notify the FAA about it until after the Indonesian crash last October, which killed 189 people. And then the FAA, then the Federal Aviation Authority or whatever, then decided that no urgent action was needed. So our government is guilty for this shit too. Shit, Craig. Greenwald Graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady, let you know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now the plot, the saga continues. I ain't gonna say the plot thickens because we know these motherfuckers is crooked up in the White House. But nevertheless, Attorney General William Barr, as y'all all know, I reported last week, he did not show up for the House Judiciary hearing that they had for him last Thursday. But he did report for the Senate Judiciary hearing on Wednesday or whatever. But even then, Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, had accused him of lying. And go back and look into my previous reports to see why I said it was said that he was lying. I mean, most likely he definitely was. But nevertheless, now they're talking about interviewing actual former FBI Special Counsel Robert Mueller, the person that actually was responsible for doing this report that looked into whether there was collusion between Russia and the Trump administration, whether there was any obstruction of justice done. The deadline was set for today for by the House for William Barr, the current Attorney General, to actually hand over the unredacted Mueller report, and you know, it looks like he's not going to do it. Greenwald Graduation.